The northern lights bled red the night Solveig walked into enemy territory barefoot, bleeding, and ready to become a queen. 12 hours earlier, Jarl Alpha Vidar had rejected their fated bond in front of his new bride, his pack, and the gods themselves. The pain should have killed her. It didn't. Rage did something better. It made her dangerous. Ragnar Bloodaxe, the Alpha they called the Shadow King, looked up from his war map when she entered his longhouse. Vidar's greatest enemy. 10 years of bloodshed between them. She met his ice-blue eyes and spoke 5 words that would reshape the north. "I'll marry you by dawn." He smiled like winter's first kill. Deal. 24 hours after her rejection, Solveig wore a claiming mark, a crown, and the power to destroy the man who'd thrown her away. Let him kneel. Welcome back to Leah's romance library, where legends are born from heartbreak. Before this story begins, tell me, where are you watching from? And would you marry your enemy for revenge? Don't forget to smash that subscribe button, like, and share. Now, let's begin. Chapter 1. 3 years later. The Winterpack's great hall fell silent when Solveig entered. Not Solveig anymore. Luna Solveig Ragnarsdottir, Queen of the Shadowpack, first of her name, the Omega who rose. Titles she'd earned with blood, strategy, and a claiming mark that still made Vidar wake screaming. She moved through the crowd like smoke-silver furs, black leather, hair braided in the intricate patterns of a Luna. Ragnar's warriors flanked her, wolves twice her size who'd die at her command. The scent of pine and winter followed her, mixed with something darker. Power. Vidar sat on his throne, looking 10 years older than the 32 summers he'd lived. His chosen bride, gone 3 winters now, fled back to her father's pack when the alliance failed. His beta dead from wounds taken in territorial disputes. His pack half the size it was, bleeding strength with every moon. He looked at Solveig, and she saw the exact moment he remembered what he'd thrown away. "Luna Solveig," the elder announced, voice carrying, "of the Shadowpack, here by sacred right to attend the annual Alpha Gathering." She inclined her head. Gracious. Queenly. Everything an Omega could never be. Jarl Alpha Vidar. Her voice hadn't changed, still soft, still gentle. But underneath ran iron. "Your invitation was unexpected." His hands gripped the throne arms, white-knuckled. "You came. I honor tradition." She smiled, and it was all teeth, even when extended by those who don't. Gasps rippled through the hall. No one spoke to a Jarl Alpha that way. But she wasn't just anyone. She was the Luna who'd turned their greatest enemy from savage into strategic genius. 3 years of marriage, and the Shadowpack had tripled its territory. Vidar's territory. The elder stepped forward, aged face grave. "There is a matter requiring discussion. In private." Solveig's eyes never left Vidar's. "How private?" "The rejected mate and the Alpha. None other." The bond stirred that ghost of what could have been, never fully dead despite the rejection. Pain lanced through her chest. Ragnar had warned this might happen. The mate bond was a vicious thing, even broken. "Where is your mate, Luna?" Vidar asked, and she heard the desperate hope underneath, hoping Ragnar hadn't come, hoping she was vulnerable. She smiled wider. "Securing your borders. Your northern watch is lacking." Translation. "We could attack right now if we wanted, and you couldn't stop us." Vidar stood. Still impressive, 6.5 feet of muscle and alpha dominance. Once, that had made her weak. Now she felt nothing but contempt. "Walk with me," he said. "Lead the way." She gestured. "I'm curious what requires such privacy." The elder's expression was grim. "The gods are angry, child, and their price is blood." They stood in the sacred grove where the Alphas had gathered for 1,000 years. Stone circle, ancient runes, northern lights overhead but wrong. Pulsing red instead of green, like infected wounds. Vidar stopped at the center stone, where 3 years ago he'd rejected her in front of the entire pack. "You remember this place," he said quietly. "Every detail." Her voice was ice. "Your new mate wore white fur. You wore silver. I wore nothing but shame." He flinched. "Good. The gods cursed me." He turned, and she saw it, the gray creeping into his hair, the hollowness in his cheeks, the way he moved like a man twice his age. "That night, the moment I spoke the rejection. Consequences." She examined her nails. How unfortunate. It's killing me, Solveig. Raw. Desperate. The elder says only the rejected mate can break it. You. It has to be you. She met his eyes. Why would I? Because... His voice cracked. Because I'm dying. And only you can save me. The northern lights flared crimson. The bond twisted like a knife in her chest. She smiled. Good. Chapter 2. The bond burned like frostbite cold fire spreading from her chest to her fingertips. Solveig kept her face blank while her body screamed. 3 years, and it still hurt to stand this close to him. You're in pain, Vidar said. And the bastard actually sounded concerned. I'm always in pain. She turned away from him, studying the runes carved into the standing stones. The bond you rejected doesn't care about your words. It just exists, broken, bleeding. Then you understand. I understand nothing. She whirled on him. You rejected me in front of hundreds. You called me weak. You said an Omega could never stand beside an Alpha, that I would shame your bloodline. Each word was a blade. And now you want mercy? His jaw clenched. Still proud. Still the same arrogant wolf who destroyed her. The curse is killing my pack. Not just me. Every day I weaken. They weaken. Pups are being born sickly. Hunts fail. Warriors fall to injuries that should heal. And, she raised an eyebrow, your pack stood and watched while you destroyed me. Not one voice rose in my defense. You were Omega. I was your mate. The words exploded from her. Power rippled outward her power, earned through 3 years of training with Ragnar, of becoming Luna, of learning she was never weak, just untaught. The runes flared white. Vidar stepped back, eyes wide. You awakened. Surprised? She smiled, cold and sharp. Ragnar didn't reject me. He taught me, trained me, showed me that Omega just meant untapped potential. She moved closer, and he actually retreated. I'm stronger than you now, Vidar. Faster. My pack is larger, wealthier, happier. Everything you thought you'd gain by rejecting me, I gave to your enemy. The mate bond thrashed. His wolf was calling to hers, desperate, dying. Her wolf, once small and cowering, snarled back with Luna authority. I made a mistake, he said quietly. I was young, stupid, desperate to prove myself worthy of my father's legacy. Your father rejected his mate too, she said, and his father before him. It's not a mistake, Vidar. It's tradition. Alphas of the Winter Pack don't accept fated mates, they choose political advantage. She tilted her head. How did that work out? My chosen mate left. Because she couldn't stand you. Solveig circled him. Because without the mate bond, you were just a cruel wolf with a title. She called you hollow. The entire North heard about it. Shame colored his cheeks. Good. Let him feel what she felt. The curse. The elder's voice came from the tree line. The old woman emerged, leaning on her staff. Requires 3 things to break. Solveig turned. I didn't agree to break anything. Nevertheless, you should know the price. The elder's eyes were ancient, seeing beyond. First, the rejected mate must forgive. Never. Second, the elder continued, they must reforge the bond through 3 nights of proximity. Sharing blood and fire. Solveig's stomach dropped. 3 nights with Vidar, in the sacred space, no one else present. The bond would try to complete itself. It would be agony. And third, the elder said softly, the rejected mate must choose. Save him, or let him die. Either choice breaks the curse, one through mercy, one through justice. Silence. The northern lights pulsed overhead. Angry red. What if I choose neither? Solveig asked. What if I just leave? Then the curse spreads. The elder's expression was grave. To the Shadow Pack, to Ragnar, to any wolf who stands beside you. The gods demand resolution. Solveig's blood went cold. That's not fair. The gods rarely are. The elder bowed her head. You have until the new moon. 3 days. Choose, child. Choose wisely. She disappeared into the darkness like smoke. Vidar and Solveig stood alone in the sacred grove, bound by a curse neither wanted, with 3 days to decide who lived and who died. I won't force you, Vidar said finally. She laughed, bitter and sharp. You can't force me. That's the part you never understood. I was never yours to command. Then what will you do? Solveig looked up at the bleeding northern lights. Thought of Ragnar, waiting at the border, trusting her. Thought of her pack who'd accepted an Omega Luna without question. Thought of the life she'd built from ashes. I'll talk to my mate, she said. The one who actually chose me. She walked away, leaving Vidar alone in the place where he'd rejected her. The bond screamed. She ignored it. Power meant being able to walk away. She'd learned that from the man they called a monster. Chapter 3. Ragnar was exactly where she knew he'd be, on the ridge overlooking Winterpack territory. Watching. Always watching. His wolf form was massive, black as midnight, eyes like ice catching moonlight. He shifted when she approached. The change was seamless, practiced, 3 seconds from wolf to man. He straightened, naked and unbothered by the cold, and opened his arms. She walked into them without hesitation. Tell me, he said against her hair. Curse. Gods. 3 days to choose if Vidar lives or dies. Her voice was muffled against his chest. If I don't choose, it spreads to you. To our pack. His arms tightened. Then we go home. Let it spread. We'll fight it together. Ragnar. I won't let him use the gods as leverage to hurt you again. He pulled back, cupped her face. You don't owe him anything. Not forgiveness. Not mercy. Not even acknowledgement. She closed her eyes, leaning into his touch. 3 years. And he still made her feel safe. Chosen. Seen. What if I can't forgive him? She asked quietly. Then don't. Simple. Final. Your worth isn't determined by your capacity for mercy toward men who destroyed you. The elder says I have to choose. Save him or let him die. Either breaks the curse. Then let him die. No hesitation in Ragnar's voice. He made his choice 3 years ago. This is consequence. She opened her eyes, studied him. Ragnar Bloodaxe, the monster, the savage, the enemy. He'd killed 14 of Vidar's warriors in territorial disputes. He'd raided Winterpack borders for a decade. His reputation was blood and brutality. He brushed her hair back with fingers so gentle they trembled. I love you, she said. I know. He kissed her forehead. I've loved you since you walked into my longhouse with blood on your feet and murder in your eyes. You proposed marriage like you were declaring war. I've never wanted anything more. I married you for revenge. I know that too. He smiled, and it was soft. Real. Nothing like the savage snarl he showed the world. I married you hoping you'd eventually stop looking at me like an escape plan and start seeing me. I see you. She rose on her toes, kissed him. I've seen you for 2 years. I didn't want you to think you were second choice. You chose me every day for 3 years. His hands spanned her waist. That's not second choice. That's first choice. Made over and over until it's truth. The bond with Vidar throbbed weak, broken, but present. The bond with Ragnar burned bright and whole. She'd forged this one herself, without fate's interference, built it from trust and time and choosing. Come home, he said. We'll face the curse together. Let the gods be angry. Let Vidar rot. You've earned your peace. She wanted to. Gods, she wanted to walk away. Go home. Forget Vidar existed. But something the elder said stuck like a thorn. Either choice breaks the curse. One through mercy, one through justice. What if there was a third option? What if she could break Vidar without saving him? What if she could make him feel exactly what he'd made her feel? 3 days, she said slowly. The ritual requires 3 days of proximity. No. Ragnar's voice went hard. Solveig, what if I use those 3 days to make him understand? She looked up at him. Not to forgive, to teach, to show him exactly what he destroyed. Then, on the 3rd night, I choose. Her smile was sharp, and he learns that mercy isn't guaranteed. Ragnar studied her face for a long moment. Then he laughed dark and low. You're vicious. I learned from the best. If you're doing this, I'm staying close. I wouldn't have it any other way. She kissed him again. He thinks I'm weak. He thinks I need saving. Let's show him what a Luna actually is. And on the 3rd night, she thought of Vidar, dying slowly, watching his pack crumble. Thought of her 19-year-old self, kneeling in snow, bleeding from a bond torn apart by cruelty. On the 3rd night, she said softly, I'll choose justice. and he'll finally understand what it means to lose everything. The northern lights flared overhead, still red, still angry. Good. Let them be angry. She was angry too, and she'd learned that angry women become queens. Chapter 4. The sacred grove looked different in daylight. Less mythic, more honest. Standing stones scarred by 1,000 years of weather. Runes worn smooth. Blood grooves in the altar stone dark with the offerings of generations. Solveig arrived at dawn, as the ritual required. Alone, as the elder demanded. But she felt Ragnar watching from the ridge, a shadow keeping vigil. Vidar was already there. He'd made an effort, clean furs, hair bound back, the silver arm rings of his rank polished. Like this was a negotiation, not a reckoning. You came, he said. I said I would. She moved to the opposite side of the altar stone. The ritual. Explain it. The elder emerged from between the standing stones like she'd been part of the rock itself. 3 days. Dawn to dusk. You share this space. Share blood at sunrise and sunset. Share fire. Share truth. Her ancient eyes moved between them. The gods will listen to what is spoken here. On the 3rd night, at moonrise, you choose. And if I choose death? Solveig asked. Then he dies, and the curse ends with justice served. The elder's voice was neutral. The gods accept both mercy and consequence as resolution. Vidar's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Blood first, the elder said, producing a ceremonial knife. Silver, etched with runes. From both, mixed on the altar stone. Solveig held out her palm without hesitation. The blade bit deep, she didn't flinch. Blood welled, dark red, dripping onto the stone. Vidar took the knife. His hand shook slightly as he cut his own palm. When his blood touched hers on the stone, the mate bond convulsed. She gasped, stumbling. He caught himself against the altar. It will be worse each time, the elder said. The bond tries to complete. You must endure. I've endured worse, Solveig said through gritted teeth. The elder nodded and left them. Silence settled like snow. Vidar and Solveig stood on opposite sides of the altar, blood mingling between them. The bond screaming. Thank you, he said finally, for giving me a chance. This isn't a chance. Her voice was ice. This is 3 days of showing you exactly what you destroyed. Don't mistake my presence for forgiveness. He flinched. Then why come? Because the curse threatens my pack, my mate, my life. She met his eyes. I'm not here for you, Vidar. I'm here to protect what's mine. Ragnar. His voice went hard on the name. The butcher. The savage. You chose him over. Over what? She laughed, sharp. Over you? You didn't offer yourself. You rejected me, threw me away like spoiled meat. Ragnar didn't choose me by default, he chose me, period. He saw an omega covered in blood and shame and said, yes, her. Exactly her. He wanted revenge on me. So did I. She smiled. Turns out, we wanted each other more. Vidar's hands clenched. Do you love him? That's not your business anymore. The bond is broken. She stepped closer. You broke it. You don't get to claim connection now that it's convenient. I made a mistake. His control cracked. I was 29, under pressure, trying to save my pack through alliance. My father's legacy was failing. I thought strength meant sacrifice, that true alphas chose duty over desire. And how did that work? She gestured to him. You're dying. Your chosen mate fled. Your pack shrinks. Your allies abandoned you. You sacrificed your fated mate for power and got neither. Each word landed like a blow. He aged before her eyes, shoulders bowing. I know, he whispered. I know I failed. I know I destroyed everything. But the bond gods, Solveig, it's still there. You feel it too. We could. No. Simple. Final. That bond died 3 years ago. What you feel is a ghost. An echo of what the gods intended before you told them no. Then why does it hurt? His voice broke. Why do I dream of you every night? Why does my wolf howl for a mate who hates him? She looked at him, really looked. Saw the exhaustion, the regret, the slow death creeping through him. Part of her, the part that had loved him once, ached. She crushed it. You hurt because you finally understand what you had, she said softly. And that's a pain you'll carry to your grave. Whether that grave comes in 3 days or 3 decades is up to me. The northern lights flickered overhead, visible even in daylight. Still red. Still bleeding. 2 more days, she said. Use them wisely. Tell me why I should choose mercy. And if I can't, she turned to leave. Then I'll choose justice. And you'll learn what I learned, that some rejections are final. She walked away, leaving him alone with his ghosts and his dying pack. Behind her, she heard it. Quiet. Broken. Vidar, the proud Jarl Alpha, wept. Chapter 5. Day 2. The sunset blood ritual. Solveig returned to find Vidar had built a fire. It crackled between the standing stones, casting dancing shadows on the ancient runes. He stood when she entered, uncertain. I brought meat, he said, gesturing to the roasting spit. Venison. The way you used to like it. With wild herbs. She stared. You remember how I like meat? I remember everything. He looked away. Your laugh. How you braided your hair. That you sang when you thought no one listened. That you brought injured animals to the healer. Even when they told you Omega girls shouldn't care so much. His voice dropped. I remember all of it. I just forgot it mattered. The bond twisted. She hated that it still responded to him. Hated that some buried part of her recognized this man as mate, despite everything. Food doesn't fix this, she said. I know. He sat by the fire. But you haven't eaten today. I can feel it through the bond. It's getting stronger as we share blood. I feel your hunger, your exhaustion, the headache from holding up your shields against me. She wanted to deny it. Couldn't. The bond was strengthening, leaching through her defenses. By the 3rd day, they'd be feeling everything. It would be excruciating. She sat, opposite side of the fire, as far as possible while still sharing warmth. He handed her meat on a wooden plate. Their fingers didn't touch. She ate in silence, and God's help her, it was perfectly cooked. Exactly how she remembered liking it. Tell me about him, Vidar said suddenly. Who? Ragnar. The name came hard. Tell me about the monster I gave you to. He's not a monster. She set down her plate. That's just what you called him to justify your war. He's killed. Warriors who invaded his territory, defended his people, survived your attempts to take his land. She leaned forward. You declared war on him first, Vidar, when his father rejected your father's alliance. 10 years of bloodshed because your pride was hurt. That's not. It is. She held his gaze. I've seen your war records. Ragnar never attacked first. He retaliated. Defended. You painted him as savage to hide that you were the aggressor. Vidar's jaw worked. My father said, your father was a liar. Simple truth. A proud man who couldn't accept that someone said no to him. Like father. Like son. The words hung between them like smoke. He loves you, Vidar said finally. I can see it in how his pack speaks of you. The Shadow Luna. The Omega Queen. They worship you. They respect me. She stirred the fire with a stick. There's a difference. Ragnar taught me to command respect, not demand worship. To earn loyalty instead of expect it. Did you love him? When you married him? No. Honesty costs nothing now. I married him to hurt you, to become your nightmare, to take everything you valued, power, territory, respect, and give it to the man you hated most. Vidar absorbed this like a blade to the gut. But somewhere between revenge and survival, I fell in love with him anyway. Her voice softened, just slightly. He's patient, kind when no one's watching. He laughs at my terrible jokes. He taught me to fight, to lead, to see my Omega status as strength, not weakness. She looked up. He sees me. Not a fated mate. Not a political tool. Just me. Solveig. And that was enough. I see you, Vidar said desperately. Now you do. She stood. 3 years too late. The blood ritual. The elder appeared with the knife. Both cut their palms again. Deeper this time. Blood on the altar stone. The bond roared, trying to complete, trying to drag them together. Solveig stood firm. The elder watched with ancient, knowing eyes. 1 more day, the old woman said. Then you choose. That night, Solveig walked back to the ridge where Ragnar waited. He held her while she shook from bond pain, whispering promises that she was strong enough, that one more day wouldn't break her. "What will you choose?" he asked against her hair. She thought of Vidar by the fire, alone, remembering her laugh. Thought of her 19-year-old self, kneeling in snow, shattered. "I don't know," she whispered. "And that terrifies me, because part of her, the part she hated, the part that remembered loving him, wondered if mercy was possible. The rest of her remembered kneeling, bleeding, breaking. Tomorrow, she'd decide which part was stronger. Chapter 6, Day 3. Dawn. The final blood ritual, and then moonrise would bring her choice. Solveig hadn't slept. Ragnar had held her through the night, silent, solid. He'd said only one thing before she left. "Whatever you choose, I'm yours." That doesn't change. The grove was different now. 2 days of shared blood had awakened something in the ancient stones. Runes glowed faintly. The air hummed with old magic. The northern lights were visible even in daylight, pulsing crimson overhead. Vidar looked worse. The curse was accelerating, feeding on the unresolved bond. Gray streaked his hair now. Lines carved his face. He moved like a man of 60, not 32. "Last day," he said when she entered. "Yes." She stopped at the altar. "Have you thought about what to say? Your case for mercy?" "I've thought of nothing else." He held out his palm. The elder appeared, knife gleaming. They cut. Blood flowed. The bond exploded. Solveig gasped, stumbling. The connection roared open. She felt everything. His pain, physical and emotional. His regret, deep as oceans. His love. Yes. Love, buried under years of duty and pride, but there, always there, and beneath it all, his death, creeping closer with every heartbeat. "Gods," she breathed. "You're not just dying. You're already half gone." "I know." He steadied himself against the altar. "The curse moves faster now. The elder says I have days at most. Maybe hours. Then the choice is irrelevant." Her voice was hollow. "You'll die regardless." "No." The elder's voice cut through. "The choice still matters. Made with mercy, his death is peaceful and the curse ends clean. Made with justice, his death is agonizing and the curse burns through him like wildfire. Either way, resolution comes. But how he dies is your choice." Solveig's blood went cold. "You're saying I can give him a quick death or a slow one. I'm saying mercy has many faces." The elder's eyes were ancient and unmoved. "Choose." She looked at Vidar. Really looked. This was the man who'd rejected her in front of hundreds, who'd called her too weak, who'd chosen political power over their bond. This was also the man who remembered how she liked her meat, who'd loved her singing, who'd kept every memory while pretending they didn't matter. "Why?" she asked quietly. "Why did you really reject me?" He swayed, barely standing. "You want the truth? I've earned it, because I was terrified." The words ripped from him. "My father rejected his mate, his father before him. It's what alphas of the winter pack do. We reject fate and choose strategy. When the bond snapped with you, I felt it. The completeness, the certainty. And it terrified me because it meant giving up control, admitting that fate knew better than I did. I couldn't let fate win. So you chose pride. I chose fear." He looked at her. "And I've paid for it every day since. Watching you walk away, hearing you married Ragnar, seeing you transform into a Luna who didn't need me. Realizing that by rejecting fate, I didn't gain control. I lost everything that mattered." The bond pulsed. She felt his sincerity, felt his regret, felt his love, useless and too late. "I can't forgive you," she said. "I know. I won't save you. I know that too." He smiled, bitter. "But I need you to know something. Watching you become a queen, seeing you happy with Ragnar, knowing you didn't need me to be complete," his voice broke. "I'm proud of you. I know I have no right. But I am. You proved me wrong about everything, and I'm grateful I lived long enough to see it." Tears burned her eyes. She blinked them away. "Don't. I love you, Solveig. I loved you then. I love you now. I'll love you in whatever comes after." He straightened as much as he could. "But you don't have to love me back. You don't have to forgive me. You just have to know that you were right. I was wrong, and I'm sorry." The northern lights flared. The bond screamed. The elder spoke. Moonrise in 1 hour, then you choose. Solveig turned and walked into the forest. She needed to breathe, needed to think, needed Ragnar. He was there, as always. Silent sentinel. She collapsed into him. He apologized. She whispered, "Does that change anything?" She thought of 19-year-old Solveig, kneeling in snow, spirit breaking. Thought of Luna Solveig, wearing a crown earned through pain and perseverance. "I don't know," she admitted. "Is it weak to choose mercy after everything? It's not weakness to end suffering." Ragnar tilted her chin up. "But it's also not weakness to let justice run its course. Whatever you choose, you're not betraying yourself. You're honoring what you've become, a woman strong enough to hold life and death in her hands and choose consciously. What would you do?" "I'd let him die screaming. No hesitation. But I'm not you. I'm a man raised on blood and revenge. You're a woman raised on hope and healing. Your choice is yours." She closed her eyes, felt the bond, felt Vidar's death creeping closer, felt Ragnar's steady presence, unconditional. 1 hour, she whispered. 1 hour, he agreed. Then the North learns what a Luna's judgment looks like. She pulled away, walked back to the grove. Vidar waited by the altar, barely standing. The elder stood between the stones, impassive. The moon rose, blood red, full. "Choose," the elder said. Solveig looked at Vidar. Thought of everything, every moment, every pain, every lesson, learned in blood and tears. She opened her mouth. Chapter 7. "I choose." The words caught in her throat. The bond thrashed, desperate, dying with him. The northern lights pulsed overhead, waiting. Vidar stood silent, accepting, ready for whatever came. Solveig closed her eyes, saw herself at 19 hopeful, naive, believing in fate and forever. Saw herself at dawn the next day, barefoot, bleeding, walking into enemy territory with nothing but rage keeping her upright. Saw herself now Luna, queen, woman who'd rebuilt herself from ashes. Which version got to decide? "I choose." She opened her eyes, met Vidar's gaze. "To break this differently." The elder's expression shifted. "Explain." "The curse demands resolution. Mercy or justice, life or death." Solveig stepped closer to the altar. "But the bond, the real bond, died 3 years ago when he rejected me. What remains is an echo. A ghost. The gods won't let it rest because neither of us released it properly." "What are you saying?" Vidar's voice was weak. "I'm saying the curse exists because we left things unfinished." She held out her hand. "You rejected me publicly, humiliated me, made me kneel. The bond shattered but didn't sever because I never accepted the rejection." Understanding dawned in the elder's ancient eyes. "Child, I, Solveig Ragnar's daughter, accept your rejection, Vidar Ulfriksson." The words rang clear. "I release you from the bond. I release myself. What fate intended is done. We walk separate paths. Let the gods witness. I accept." The bond convulsed and snapped. "Clean. Final. Complete." Vidar gasped, collapsing. Solveig staggered but stayed standing. The northern lights exploded overhead, red shattering into green, proper green, healthy and bright. The curse shattered like ice. Vidar lay on the ground, breathing hard. The gray receded from his hair. Color returned to his face. The death rattle in his chest eased. He was healing not fully. The damage was done. But the curse was broken. "You saved him," the elder said quietly. "No." Solveig's voice was steady. "I released us both. There's a difference." Vidar pushed himself up on trembling arms. "Why?" "Because carrying hate was killing me too." She looked down at him. "Not physically, but here." She touched her chest. "Every day I spent angry was a day you still controlled me. Every night I plotted revenge was a night I let you live in my head rent-free. I was so busy being the woman you destroyed, I forgot to be the woman I became. I don't understand. I know, and I don't need you to." She turned to leave. "The curse is broken. The bond is severed. You'll live, Vidar. Rebuild your pack. Find another mate, one you choose to value this time. Learn from this, but do it away from me." "Wait." He struggled to his feet. "That's it? You walk away?" "Yes." She paused. "That's what closure looks like. Not forgiveness, not revenge. Just done." But I love you. You love the idea of me. She looked back. You love who you thought I was, sweet, soft, someone who'd wait forever for you to realize your mistake. That woman died the night you rejected her. Who I am now. She smiled. You don't even know her. And you never will. Solveig. Luna Solveig, she corrected. You lost the right to my familiar name when you threw me away. She started walking. Goodbye, Vidar. Have a good life. Have 10 good lives. Just have them far from mine. She walked out of the grove. The standing stones stopped glowing. The ritual was complete. Behind her, she heard Vidar's broken breathing, his grief, his realization that being alive wasn't the same as being forgiven. She felt nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction, not even pity, just free. Ragnar waited at the forest edge. She walked into his arms, and he held her while she finally let go of everything she'd been carrying. Is he dead? Ragnar asked against her hair. No. But we are. The bond is gone. Clean break. No ghosts. He pulled back, searched her face. How do you feel? She thought about it. Tested herself like probing a wound. Lighter. Empty where the bond used to be. But good empty. Room for new things empty. Any regrets? Just one. She met his eyes. That I wasted 3 years planning his destruction when I could have been building our empire instead. Ragnar laughed, surprised and genuine. We still built an empire. We'll build a bigger one. She kissed him. Without ghosts, without revenge. Just us, he agreed. They walked away from the sacred grove, from the standing stones, from the northern lights that finally glowed green and clean. Behind them, Vidar stood alone, healed but hollow, watching the only woman he'd ever loved choose someone else. Again. This time, though, it didn't break her. It freed her, and that made all the difference. Chapter 8. The Winter Pack's great hall was silent when Solveig entered. Not as Luna of the Shadow Pack this time. As witness to resolution, the alphas from every territory had gathered 12 jarls, their betas, their warriors, drawn by rumors of the curses breaking, of the ritual in the sacred grove, of the Omega Queen who'd held life and death in her hands. Vidar stood at the center. Alive, healed, but diminished in ways that had nothing to do with the curse. The High Elder spoke, voice carrying to the rafters. The curse is broken. The rejected bond is severed. The gods are satisfied. She turned to Vidar. What say you, Jarl Alpha? He looked at Solveig across the hall. She stood beside Ragnar, hand in his, crown on her head, every inch a Luna. I wronged her, Vidar said clearly. 3 years ago, I rejected my fated mate in front of this assembly. I called her weak. I shamed her. I broke her. He paused. I was wrong about everything. She wasn't weak, She didn't shame me, I shamed myself. And she didn't break, I did. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I stand before the alphas and admit, I am the one who failed. He removed his silver arm rings, the marks of his rank. Luna Solveig of the Shadow Pack held my life in her hands and chose mercy when I deserved none. She released the bond I broke. She freed us both from the curse I earned. He crossed the hall, knelt before her. Gasps echoed. A Jarl Alpha never knelt to anyone except the High Elder and the gods. Forgive me, he said. Solveig looked down at him. The man who'd destroyed her 19-year-old self. The man she'd spent 3 years hating. The man she'd just saved. No, she said simply. Shock rippled through the assembly. I don't forgive you, she continued. But I don't hate you either. You taught me what I don't deserve. Ragnar taught me what I do. Both lessons mattered. So thank you for that. And goodbye. She turned to leave. Ragnar moved with her, a shadow perfectly in sync. Wait, Vidar called. The territory, the Shadow Pack has won by right of survival. Take it. Take everything. Solveig paused, looked at Ragnar. He raised an eyebrow. Your choice, she considered. The Winter Pack's territory would triple their lands, make them the most powerful pack in the north. It was everything she'd wanted when she'd first married Ragnar. Ultimate revenge, complete victory. No, she said. What? Vidar's confusion was genuine. I don't want your territory. She met his eyes. I don't want anything that's yours. The Shadow Pack is mine because I built it. Every alliance earned, every treaty negotiated, every inch of land defended. I don't need yours. I never did. She walked away. The assembly parted for her like water. Behind her, she heard Vidar's broken voice. Then what do you want? She stopped at the threshold. Didn't turn around. I want you to live a long life, Vidar. I want you to find a mate who you value. I want you to raise pups who never doubt their worth. I want you to become the alpha you should have been. She glanced back. And I want you to do it knowing that the woman you rejected is out there, thriving, happy, and never thinking of you at all. That's cruel. No. She smiled. She left. The great hall erupted, in whispers, debates, shock. The Omega Queen had won everything, and walked away wanting nothing. Outside, snow fell soft and clean. Ragnar pulled her close. You're magnificent, he said. I'm tired. She leaned into him. Take me home? Always. They shifted together, her wolf smaller but fierce, his massive and protective. They ran through the forest, away from the winter pack, away from ghosts and curses and bonds that should have been but weren't. They ran toward home, toward the shadow pack, toward the life they'd built together, piece by piece, choice by choice. The northern lights blazed green overhead, clean, whole, free. Behind them, Vidar watched from the great hall window. The woman he'd rejected was a queen now. The monster he'd named enemy was her devoted mate. The Omega he'd called weak had just brought 12 alphas to silence with nothing but her presence. He'd lost everything, and she'd won by walking away. Chapter 9. 3 months later, the Shadow Pack's longhouse had been expanded. New chambers for visiting alphas, a larger mead hall, fortified walls. Not for defense, they didn't need it anymore. For hosting. Since the ritual, the Shadow Pack's reputation had grown beyond war-making. Luna Solveig had become something the North had never seen. A diplomatic force. Packs that had fought for generations were negotiating treaties at her table. Trade routes opened. Alliances formed. All because an Omega had proven that strength wasn't about dominance, it was about wisdom. Tonight, the hall was full. A celebration. The spring equinox, and with it, the announcement everyone had been waiting for. Ragnar stood at the high table, massive and commanding, but his eyes were soft when they found Solveig. She stood beside him, hand on her slightly rounded belly, crown catching firelight. The Shadow Pack has thrived this winter, Ragnar announced. Our stores are full, our alliance is strong, our people safe. He paused. And come autumn, we welcome the next generation. The hall erupted. Cheers. Howls, the stamping of feet. An heir. The first child born of the Omega Luna and the Shadow King. Solveig smiled, genuinely happy for the first time in years. Ragnar's hand covered hers on her belly, protective, proud, in love. To Luna Solveig, someone shouted. To the Shadow King! To the heir. The celebration swelled. Music started. Mead flowed. Solveig caught Ragnar's eye, and they slipped away quietly, out into the night. They walked to the ridge where he'd kept watch during her ritual, the place where she'd decided who she was going to be. Do you ever think of him? Ragnar asked quietly. Sometimes. Honesty came easy between them now. I wonder if he learned anything. If he rebuilt his pack. If he found happiness. Does it hurt? No. She leaned against him. The bond is gone. Completely. I feel nothing when I think of him. Not anger, not pain, not even satisfaction. Just neutral. Good. He kissed her temple. You deserve neutral. You deserve to forget him entirely. I don't need to forget. She looked up at the northern lights, green and dancing, beautiful. I just needed to stop letting him matter. There's a difference. You're wise, Luna. I'm learning. She smiled. From the best teachers. A monster who taught me kindness. An enemy who taught me trust. A broken bond that taught me I don't need fate to find love. The North tells stories about you now, Ragnar said. The Omega Queen, who walked into enemy territory with blood on her feet and revenge in her heart. Who became Luna. Who held death in her hands and chose mercy. Who walked away from victory because she'd already won. What do they say about you? That I'm the luckiest bastard in the North. He grinned. That the monster fell in love with a queen and became something better. You were always something better. She turned in his arms. You just needed someone to see it, and you needed someone to see you. We saved each other. she said softly. We built each other. He touched her belly. And now, we build the future. Far to the south, in Winterpack territory, Vidar stood in his own hall. Smaller now, quieter. He'd rebuilt what he could, but the pack would never be what it was. He'd heard the news. The Shadow Luna was pregnant. The North celebrated. Songs were already being written about the Omega Queen and her king. He was happy for her, truly. Because that's what love was, wanting someone's joy even when you weren't part of it. He'd learned that lesson too late. But he'd learned it. He turned from the window. His new beta waited a good man. Loyal, strong. His pack was smaller but healthier. No more curse. No more lies. Just honest work and slow rebuilding. It wasn't the empire he'd imagined. But it was his, earned through consequence and growth. He'd live with it. He'd live well. Just not with her, and that was his price to pay. Chapter 10. 1 year later, the northern lights painted the sky green the night Solveig gave birth, emerald fire dancing overhead, blessing the air with the gods' approval. The child was perfect. A daughter, strong-lunged and fierce-eyed, with her mother's determination and her father's strength. They named her Astrid, after the stars that guided lost wolves home. Ragnar held his daughter with hands that had killed dozens, cradling her like she was made of moonlight. She's perfect, he whispered, voice thick. She's ours, Solveig corrected, exhausted and radiant. That's better than perfect. The Shadow Pack celebrated for 3 days. Alphas came from every territory bearing gifts, silver, furs, weapons, blessings. The Omega Luna had given birth to the future, and the North rejoiced. On the 3rd night, when the celebrations finally quieted, Solveig stood on the ridge overlooking her territory. Their territory. Astrid slept against her chest, wrapped in wolf fur, breathing soft and even. Do you remember? Ragnar said beside her. The night you walked into my hall? Barefoot, bleeding, probably insane. She smiled at the memory. You should have turned me away. I should have. He touched Astrid's tiny hand. But you looked at me like I was salvation and damnation in one breath. How could I resist? I married you for revenge. I know. He'd said it before. Would say it forever. Best decision you ever made. She laughed, soft so as not to wake their daughter. Second best. Oh? Best decision was accepting the rejection. She looked up at the northern lights. Not forgiving, not forgetting, just letting go. That's when I became free. The North tells your story differently now, Ragnar said. Not the rejected Omega anymore. The Luna who rewrote fate. The queen who chose herself. What will we tell Astrid? Solveig wondered. When she's old enough to ask? The truth, Ragnar's voice was certain. That her mother was rejected by a fool. That she walked into enemy territory and became a queen. That she held life and death in her hands and chose wisdom. That she built an empire not from hate, but from deciding she deserved better. And her father? That he was called a monster until a brave woman saw him as a man. He kissed her forehead. That he fell in love with vengeance and stayed for joy. That he'd burn the world for his family and call it mercy. Astrid stirred, made a small sound. Both parents immediately focused on her. The Alpha King and Omega Queen brought to their knees by 8 pounds of perfect possibility. She'll never doubt her worth, Solveig said quietly. Never question if she deserves love. Never kneel unless she chooses to. Never, Ragnar agreed. Far to the south, in Winterpack territory, Vidar stood in his own hall, holding his newborn son. The child's mother, his new mate, chosen carefully this time, valued properly, smiled up at him with trust he'd earned through years of proving himself changed. He'd heard about the shadow heir. A daughter. He'd sent gifts anonymously. Through the elder, with no expectation of acknowledgement, he was happy. Not the blazing joy he'd imagined with Solveig, but the steady warmth of a life rebuilt brick by brick. He'd learned that happiness wasn't about having everything, it was about valuing what you had. He looked at his son. You'll be better than me, he promised. You'll honor your mate. You'll value the gift of the bond. You'll learn from my mistakes. His mate touched his arm. He'll be exactly who he's meant to be, just like his father became. Vidar smiled. It was true. He wasn't the alpha he'd been proud, cruel, foolish. He was something quieter, humbler, better. It had cost him everything to learn. But he'd learned. Back on the ridge, Solveig looked at her daughter and saw the future. A future where Omega meant strength untapped. Where rejection didn't break spirits, just redirected them. Where walking away was victory. Where choosing yourself was power. "Thank you," she said to Ragnar. "For what?" "For being there when I fell. For teaching me to fly. For showing me that monsters are just men who need the right person to see them." "Thank you," he countered. "For walking into my hall with murder in your eyes and teaching me that love is fiercer than hate." They stood together under the northern lights, green and pure and eternal. The Shadow King, the Omega Queen, and the heir who would carry their legend forward. Behind them, the Shadow Pack sang, songs of the Luna who was rejected and rose, songs of the king who was feared and loved, songs of the daughter who would unite the North. The story wasn't about rejection anymore. It was about everything that came after. Epilogue. They say the northern lights bled red the night the Omega knelt before the Alpha rejected. Broken, barely breathing. They say she walked into enemy territory with blood on her feet and vengeance in her heart. They say she married the monster, became a queen, held death in her hands and chose mercy. They say she walked away from victory because she'd already won. They say her daughter grew to unite the North. They say her pack sang songs that are still sung today. They say she proved that fate is just a suggestion, and choice is where real power lives. But this is what they don't say. That she woke every morning and chose her mate again. That she built an empire one decision at a time. That she taught her daughter strength through wisdom, not dominance. That she never forgot what rejection felt like, and used that memory to ensure no one in her pack ever felt it. That she lived long, loved deeply, ruled justly. That the Alpha who rejected her lived too smaller, quieter, better. That both found happiness, just not with each other. That the curse was never about punishment. It was about learning, growing, becoming. That the northern lights bled red that night and turned green when she finally let go. That this isn't a story about rejection. It's a story about resurrection. The Omega Luna, the Shadow King, the daughter who changed the North, and the choice that made it all possible, choosing herself. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If this story touched your heart, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Click on the next video. It's darker, deeper, and even more unforgettable. You don't want to miss it because in this world, rejection may break hearts, but queens rise from the pieces.